The Great Hall of the Galactic Council fell silent as the final piece of evidence appeared on the massive display screens. Ambassador Min-Jun Park watched in horror as the recordings showed human warships firing on the peaceful Zilani homeworld. The orbital bombardment had lasted only minutes, but it killed millions of innocent beings. Min-Jun stood at the defendant's platform, his hands shaking. He had served as Earth's ambassador for 20 years. He knew these recordings were fake, but they looked completely real. The ship's signatures matched human vessels perfectly. Even the weapons' fire patterns were exactly what human military doctrine would suggest. "The evidence is clear," announced High Arbiter Zenthal from his towering seat. The ancient being's voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "Humanity has committed genocide against the Zilani people. This council has no choice but to act." Min-Jun stepped forward. His voice carried across the silent hall as he made his final plea. "Honorable members of the council, I swear to you that humanity did not commit this terrible crime. We would never attack innocent civilians. Our ships were nowhere near Zilani space during the time of the attack." Chancellor Vextar of the Krex Empire rose from his seat. His massive form cast a shadow across the chamber floor. "Ambassador Park, your people's guilt is proven beyond doubt. The weapon signatures are uniquely human. The attack patterns match your military training. What more evidence do you need?" Min-Jun felt his heart sink. Vextar spoke with such conviction that even Min-Jun began to doubt himself for a moment. But he knew the truth. Humanity had been exploring distant star systems during the attack. Their entire fleet had been light years away from Zilani space. "We were conducting peaceful exploration missions in the Outer Rim," Min-Jun said desperately. "Our fleet logs will prove this. Please, just give us time to investigate." The Thurani representative, Ambassador Yilseth, spoke next. Her melodic voice was filled with sadness. "Ambassador Park, we have reviewed your fleet logs. They show that several human ships were unaccounted for during the attack period. These ships could easily have reached Zilani space." Min-Jun closed his eyes. He knew those missing ships had been on secret scientific missions, studying ancient ruins in forbidden sectors. But he could not reveal this information without breaking countless treaties and exposing humanity's archaeological teams to danger. Admiral Sarah Kim watched from the observer section, her jaw clenched tight. She commanded the human defense fleet and knew exactly where every ship had been during the attack. The missing vessels had been studying predecessor artifacts under her direct orders. But revealing this would expose humanity's greatest strategic advantage. The vote began without ceremony. One by one, each species representative cast their decision. The Thurani voted for exile, with tears in their eyes. The scientific Kieth voted with cold logic. Even the normally neutral Miraleth chose banishment. Every single vote went against humanity. High Arbiter Zenthal stood as the final tally appeared. "By unanimous decision of this council, humanity is hereby banished from all civilized space. All human colonies in council territory must be evacuated within 1 standard year. Human vessels are forbidden from entering any system under council protection." The words hit Min-Jun like physical blows. Banishment meant more than just leaving council space. It meant losing access to trade routes, scientific exchanges, and medical supplies. Millions of human colonists would have to abandon their homes and start over in the dangerous Outer Rim. Furthermore, Zenthal continued, "A quarantine zone shall be established around all remaining human territory. Any human vessel attempting to leave this zone will be destroyed without warning." Admiral Kim felt her blood turn cold. The council was not just banishing humanity. They were imprisoning them in a small section of space with limited resources and no hope of expansion. It was a death sentence, disguised as mercy. Min-Jun made one final attempt. "Honorable Arbiter, I beg you to reconsider. Humanity has been a loyal member of this council for over a century. We have fought alongside you against pirates and raiders. We have shared our technology and knowledge freely. Surely our past service means something." Chancellor Vextar laughed coldly. Your past service is exactly why this betrayal cuts so deep, Ambassador Park. We trusted you with our secrets and our friendship. You repaid that trust with genocide. The session ended with the sound of the great gong. Representatives filed out of the chamber in small groups, many avoiding eye contact with the human delegation. Minjun stood alone at the defendant's platform, feeling the weight of humanity's fall pressing down on his shoulders. Admiral Kim approached him slowly. Her face showed none of the emotion churning inside her heart. Ambassador, we need to begin evacuation procedures immediately. We have less than a year to move 40 million colonists. Minjun nodded numbly. How many ships do we have available? Not enough, Kim replied grimly. We will need to make multiple trips and abandon most of our infrastructure. The Outer Rim colonies can serve as temporary shelters, but they lack the facilities to support large populations. As they walked toward the exit, Minjun turned back to look at the empty council chamber one last time. The great seal of galactic unity gleamed on the far wall, mocking humanity's expulsion. He had believed in that unity once. He had thought that truth and justice would always prevail in the end. Outside the chamber, news of humanity's banishment was already spreading across the galaxy. Trade agreements were being cancelled. Scientific partnerships were being dissolved. Human diplomats were being escorted to their ships under armed guard. Admiral Kim contacted her fleet commanders through secure channels. Begin Operation Exodus immediately. All civilian transports are to report for evacuation duty. Military vessels will provide escort and protection. The next few months would be the hardest in human history. Families would be torn apart as they abandoned everything they had built. Children would leave the only homes they had ever known. But Admiral Kim was already thinking beyond the immediate crisis. In the Outer Rim territories, away from Council oversight, humanity would have the freedom to develop new technologies and strategies. The banishment that was meant to weaken them might actually make them stronger. But that was a thought for another day. For now, they had to survive the exodus and find a new way forward among the stars. Admiral Sarah Kim floated through the command center of Haven 7, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor with each step. The asteroid base had been carved out of solid rock over the past 5 years, hidden deep in the void belt where no council ships dared to venture. The dangerous radiation fields and unstable gravity wells made perfect cover for humanity's secret operations. Admiral, we have another refugee convoy incoming, reported Captain Elena Rodriguez from her station. 300 families from the Altair colony. The Kreks are forcing all humans off the planet, even those who were born there. Kim nodded grimly. The persecution had only gotten worse since the banishment. Former human colonies were being stripped of everything valuable before the remaining population was expelled. Families arrived at the Outer Rim bases with nothing but the clothes on their backs and stories of betrayal by neighbors they had known for decades. Dr. James Lee approached the Admiral with a datapad in his hands. His usually clean lab coat was stained with grease and alien lubricants. For 5 years, he had been working day and night to reverse engineer salvaged alien technology. His team had made breakthroughs that would have seemed impossible during humanity's time in the Council. Admiral, we have finished analyzing the predecessor shipyard we discovered last month, Lee said excitedly. The manufacturing systems are still functional. With some modifications, we can begin producing our own advanced components. Kim studied the technical readouts on the datapad. The ancient shipyard was clearly built by a race far more advanced than any current galactic civilization. The discovery had been pure luck. Captain Rodriguez had been leading a scouting mission when her sensors detected the massive structure hidden inside a nebula. How long before we can begin production? Kim asked. The AI construct Atlas estimates 6 months for full integration, Lee replied. We have already begun preliminary tests. The fusion of human engineering principles with predecessor technology is yielding remarkable results. Atlas had been another unexpected discovery. The artificial intelligence had been found dormant in the shipyard's central computer core. Unlike other alien AI systems, Atlas seemed eager to work with humans. It claimed to have been waiting for a species with the right combination of curiosity and moral courage. Chen Wei, the elected leader of the refugee settlements, joined their conversation. The former colony administrator had lost everything when the Krex forced him off his homeworld. But he had channeled his anger into organizing the scattered human population. "Admiral, we need to talk about our long-term strategy," Chen said quietly. "We cannot keep running forever. The Outer Rim territories have limited resources, and our population is growing every day." Kim understood his concerns. The refugee camps were overcrowded, and food supplies were running low. But she also knew that humanity was developing capabilities that would have seemed like magic just 5 years ago. The combination of human innovation and salvaged alien technology was creating something entirely new. "Chen, I want to show you something," Kim said, leading the group to a sealed observation deck. Below them stretched a vast construction bay, where human workers labored alongside automated systems. Sleek ships unlike anything in the Galactic Fleet took shape on the assembly lines. "These are our Ghost Squadron prototypes," Kim explained. "They use adaptive camouflage technology that makes them invisible to most sensors. The engines are based on predecessor gravity manipulation, giving them speed and maneuverability that no Council ship can match." Rodriguez whistled softly as she watched the ships being assembled. "How many can we build?" "With the full shipyard operational, we can produce 50 ships per month," Lee answered. "But Admiral, we have discovered something else." The predecessor database contains star charts showing thousands of hidden systems throughout the galaxy. "We could establish bases that the Council would never find." Kim smiled for the first time in months. The plan that had been forming in her mind was finally becoming possible. Humanity would not just survive their banishment. They would thrive in the shadows and become something the galaxy had never seen before. "Atlas, display the network projection," Kim commanded. The AI's holographic form appeared, resembling a shifting pattern of light and data. "Admiral, based on current refugee flow patterns and resource availability, I project we can establish 47 hidden bases within 2 years. These bases would form an interconnected network capable of supporting 10 million humans while remaining completely invisible to Council surveillance." Chen stared at the projection in amazement. This would be larger than most galactic civilizations. "But Admiral, what is our ultimate goal? Are we planning to hide forever?" Kim turned to face the group, her expression serious. "No, Chen. We are not hiding forever. We are building something that the galaxy desperately needs, even if they do not know it yet. While the Council races squabble over territory and resources, we will become the guardians of the innocent and the oppressed." Dr. Lee pulled up another display showing intelligence reports from across the galaxy. "Admiral, our agents have made contact with several species that are suffering under Council member exploitation. The Miraleth are being slowly poisoned by Krex industrial pollution. The Zorvak have been enslaved in their own minds. Dozens of smaller species live in fear of the major powers." "Exactly," Kim said. "The Council has become corrupt and complacent. They claim to represent justice and order, but they ignore suffering when it suits their interests. Humanity will fill that void." Captain Rodriguez leaned forward eagerly. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Kim activated a secure communication link to all human settlements across the Outer Rim. Her voice carried to hidden bases, refugee camps, and scouting ships throughout the frontier. "All stations, this is Admiral Kim with new mission parameters. Operation Sanctuary is now in effect." She paused to let the significance of the moment sink in. "We are no longer refugees fleeing persecution. We are the foundation of something greater. Every human will contribute to building a network of hope for all innocent beings in this galaxy. We will become the force that stands between the oppressors and the oppressed." Atlas displayed the growing network of hidden facilities and supply routes. Human engineers worked alongside refugee scientists from a dozen species, sharing knowledge and building trust. The Underground Railroad that had begun as a desperate evacuation effort was evolving into something much more ambitious. The Council may have banished us from their space, Kim concluded, but they cannot banish us from our purpose. Humanity will return to the stars, not as conquerors, but as protectors. And when that day comes, the galaxy will be a very different place. In the months that followed, human agents began making quiet contact with oppressed populations throughout Council territory. Advanced ships slipped through patrol routes like ghosts, delivering supplies and hope to those who had given up on justice. The network grew stronger with each passing day, funded by salvage operations and fueled by humanity's determination to never again be victims of injustice. The seeds of defiance had been planted, and they were beginning to grow. Captain Junho Kang moved silently through the crowded marketplace on Nexus Station, his appearance altered by advanced holographic disguise technology. To anyone watching, he looked like a typical Thorani trader conducting routine business. In reality, he was one of humanity's most skilled intelligence operatives, gathering information that would change the fate of entire species. 14 years had passed since humanity's banishment, and the secret network Admiral Kim had envisioned was now a reality. Hidden bases dotted the galaxy's edge, connected by quantum communication links that the Council's technology could not detect. The Underground Railroad had evolved from a refugee rescue operation into something far more ambitious. Dr. Sarah Chen waited in a concealed research facility built inside a hollow asteroid, analyzing data streams from across the galaxy. Her work in xenobiology had led to breakthroughs in understanding how different species could work together effectively. The laboratory around her buzzed with activity as human scientists collaborated with refugees from dozens of oppressed worlds. Captain Kang, we are receiving your transmission, Chen said through her encrypted communicator. What is the situation with the Miraleth? Kang paused beside a vendor selling crystalline art, his enhanced hearing picking up conversations from nearby tables. The situation is worse than we thought. Doctor, the Krex industrial operations are not just polluting their atmosphere. They are deliberately poisoning the Miraleth to force them off their mineral-rich homeworld. Chen felt her stomach turn. The Miraleth were among the most peaceful species in the galaxy, known for their beautiful crystal gardens and harmonious culture. The idea that anyone would deliberately destroy such beauty for profit was almost beyond comprehension. How long do they have? Chen asked quietly. Atlas estimates 6 months before the atmospheric damage becomes irreversible, Kang replied. But the Miraleth leadership does not know about the deliberate poisoning. They think it is just an unfortunate side effect of progress. In her laboratory, Chen turned to address a mixed group of human and alien researchers. The team included Zorvak mining engineers who had escaped their enslaved homeworld, Keth scientists who disagreed with their government's passive stance, and even a few Thorani who had secretly joined humanity's cause. We need to begin immediate evacuation planning, Chen announced. The Miraleth population is approximately 50 million. We will need to coordinate with all our hidden facilities to accommodate them. Catherine, the Miraleth exile who served as liaison to her people, stepped forward. Her crystalline skin reflected the laboratory lights in beautiful patterns, but her expression was filled with despair. Dr. Chen, my people will not abandon their homeworld easily. The crystal gardens have grown for 10,000 years. They believe that leaving would mean the death of our entire culture. My people will not abandon their homeworld. The 10,000 years. Commander Maria Santos, who ran humanity's intelligence networks, appeared on the communication screen from her command center 3 star systems away. Her face showed the strain of coordinating operations across hundreds of worlds while remaining completely invisible to Council surveillance. Catherine is right, Santos said. We cannot simply evacuate the Miraleth without proof of the Krex deception. But, Captain Kang, you are in perfect position to gather that evidence. Kang nodded. Moving away from the marketplace crowd, toward a more secure location. Commander, I have already identified the Krex facility, where they are manufacturing the atmospheric poison. It is disguised as a water purification plant, but my scans show it is actually producing industrial toxins. Can you get inside? Santos asked. Yes, but I will need backup. The facility is heavily guarded, and I suspect they have additional security measures that our sensors cannot detect. Dr. Chen looked at the holographic displays showing the layout of Miraleth space. The Krex had positioned their operations perfectly to maximize damage while maintaining plausible deniability. It was a plan that had probably been years in the making. Captain, you will have your backup, Chen said. Shadow Agent Wraith is operating in that sector. Her stealth capabilities should be sufficient to support your mission. Wraith was one of humanity's most mysterious operatives, known only by her codename and reputation for impossible infiltrations. Even within the intelligence network, her true identity was known to only a few senior officers. Some people wondered if she was actually human, or if humanity had somehow recruited an alien agent of incredible skill. 3 days later, Kang and Wraith met at a predetermined coordinates in the empty space between star systems. The meeting took place aboard one of humanity's newest scout ships, invisible to all known sensor types and equipped with technology that made council vessels look primitive by comparison. Wraith appeared to be a young human woman with dark hair and unremarkable features, but Kang knew that her appearance could change at will. Her bioadaptive camouflage went far beyond simple holographic disguises, allowing her to mimic different species at the cellular level. Captain Kang, I have reviewed the facility blueprints, Wraith said in a voice that seemed to shift slightly with each word. The manufacturing equipment is located in the lower levels, but accessing it will require bypassing quantum locks and biometric scanners. Can you handle the security systems? Kang asked. Wraith smiled, and for a moment her features seemed to blur and shift. Security systems are designed to keep out known threats. I am something they have never encountered before. The infiltration began during the night shift, when the facility operated with minimal staff. Kang used his holographic disguise to pose as a Krex supervisor making a surprise inspection, while Wraith simply became invisible, using technology that bent light around her body like water. Inside the facility, they discovered evidence that exceeded their worst fears. The Krex were not just poisoning the Miraleth homeworld. They had developed a systematic plan to eliminate or enslave dozens of minor species throughout the galaxy. The Miraleth were simply the first target in a larger campaign of genocide. We need to get this information to the Galactic Council, Kang whispered as they downloaded files from the central computer. The Council will never act on evidence provided by banished humans, Wraith replied. But there are other ways to ensure this information reaches the right people. Within hours of their escape, the poison manufacturing data began appearing on information networks throughout the galaxy. News outlets that had never heard of each other suddenly received identical packages of evidence. Council representatives found detailed reports waiting in their secure communications. Even private citizens on dozens of worlds received anonymous messages exposing the Krex conspiracy. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. The Miraleth government contacted the Council demanding an investigation. Other species began reviewing their own relationships with the Krex Empire, wondering what other hidden threats might exist. Several minor species formally requested protection from outside interference. Admiral Kim watched the developing crisis from her command center aboard the hidden fortress ship, New Haven. The vessel was invisible to all sensors and large enough to house 10,000 people, serving as the mobile capital of humanity's shadow civilization. The Krex conspiracy exposure was perfectly executed, Kim told her senior staff. But this is just the beginning. We have evidence of similar operations targeting at least 12 other species. Dr. Chen appeared on the communication screen from her research facility. Admiral, the Miraleth have agreed to begin voluntary relocation to our hidden worlds. They will bring their crystal-growing technology with them, adding to our alliance's capabilities. Excellent, Kim replied. And the Zorvak mining clans? Commander Santos answered from her intelligence post. 3 clans have made contact with our agents. They are ready to provide detailed information about Krek's slave operations in exchange for protection and citizenship in our hidden territories. Kim studied the galaxy map showing the growing network of allied species and hidden bases. Humanity was no longer alone in the darkness between stars. They had become the center of a growing alliance that included the best and bravest beings from across the galaxy. The time is coming when we will no longer be able to remain hidden, Kim said quietly. But when we reveal ourselves, it will be as the champions of justice that this galaxy desperately needs. General Thexnar stood before the massive holographic display in the Krex Empire's primary military command center, studying troop positions across 27 star systems. The upcoming expansion campaign would be the largest military operation in galactic history, designed to bring 34 minor species under direct Krex control within 6 months. General, the slave labor projections look excellent, reported Colonel Vakhtar, his aide and nephew of Chancellor Vextar. Once we control the Zorvak mining operations and the Miraleth crystal technology, our industrial capacity will increase by 400%. Thexnar nodded with satisfaction. The carefully planned campaign would present each conquest as a necessary police action to maintain galactic stability. The Council would protest, but they always accepted Krek's actions after the fact. The other major powers were too comfortable to risk actual conflict. What is our timeline for the first wave? Thexnar asked. 3 weeks, General. The assault fleets are moving into position around the primary targets. The Thurani have agreed to provide logistical support in exchange for mining rights on captured worlds. Unknown to the Krex leadership, their every word was being recorded by devices smaller than dust particles, planted throughout their command structure by humanity's intelligence network. Captain Minjun Park Jr. monitored the conversation from his stealth ship, hidden just outside the system's gravity well. Minjun was the son of the former ambassador who had witnessed humanity's banishment 21 years ago. Unlike his father's diplomatic approach, Minjun had chosen the path of a warrior. His ship, the Silent Justice, was one of humanity's most advanced vessels, capable of remaining undetected even while conducting close surveillance of enemy facilities. Atlas, are you recording all tactical data? Minjun asked the AI construct that now existed in distributed form throughout the human fleet. Affirmative, Captain Park, Atlas replied in its shifting electronic voice. I am also detecting unusual quantum signatures from several Krex vessels. They appear to be equipped with previously unknown weapon systems. Admiral Sarah Kim received Minjun's intelligence report aboard the command ship New Haven as it floated in the void between galaxies. The massive vessel had become the mobile capital of humanity's hidden empire, housing the best minds from dozens of species working together on impossible projects. 21 years, Kim said to her assembled staff. 21 years since they framed us for genocide and banished us from civilized space. Now they plan to commit actual genocide against 34 innocent species. Captain Junho Kang, now promoted to Admiral and head of covert operations, studied the tactical displays showing Krek's fleet movements. Admiral, we cannot stop this campaign through hidden operations alone. The scale is too massive, and the timeline is too short. Dr. Sarah Chen, whose research had enabled many of humanity's technological breakthroughs, nodded in agreement. The refugee networks we have built can save some populations, but not entire civilizations. We need to act directly. Kim looked around the command center at the faces of beings from across the galaxy. Humans worked alongside liberated Zorvak miners, Miraleth crystal shapers, Queth scientists, and representatives from dozens of smaller species that had found sanctuary in humanity's hidden territories. Then we stop hiding, Kim said quietly. Operation Revelation begins immediately. All fleet commanders, prepare for simultaneous strikes on Krek's military infrastructure. We will disable their ability to conduct the expansion campaign while revealing our true capabilities to the galaxy. Commander Maria Santos, now an admiral in charge of intelligence operations, activated secure communication links to human agents positioned throughout Krex space. All shadow assets. You are authorized to reveal your presence, if necessary, to complete your missions. After 21 years of hiding, humanity returns to the stars. The coordinated attack began exactly 72 hours later. 12 major Krex military installations found themselves under assault by ships that seemed to appear from empty space. The attackers used weapons and tactics that no galactic military had ever encountered, striking with precision that disabled defensive systems without causing unnecessary casualties. At the primary staging area for the expansion fleet, Admiral Min Park Jr. led a squadron of humanity's most advanced warships in a direct assault on the command station. The Krex defenders found themselves facing enemies that could become invisible, move faster than any known technology should allow, and coordinate their attacks through quantum communication networks that made them nearly impossible to counter. "Impossible," General Nar muttered as he watched his carefully planned campaign dissolve into chaos. These ships use technology decades ahead of anything in the galactic database. Who are they? His question was answered when Min opened a communication channel to the Krex command center. His image appeared on their screens wearing a crisp military uniform marked with the symbols of Earth and the Free Species Alliance. "General Nar, this is Admiral Min Park of the Human Shadow Fleet. You are ordered to stand down and withdraw all forces from the territory of sovereign species. Your expansion campaign is terminated." Nar stared in disbelief. "Humans? But you were banished decades ago. You have no ships, no technology, no military capability. As you can see, General, your intelligence was severely outdated," Min replied calmly. "We have spent 21 years building something that your empire cannot comprehend or defeat. Surrender now, and your personnel will be treated according to the laws of war." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as human forces revealed themselves for the first time in over 2 decades. The liberation of Zorvak slave mines was broadcast across the galactic communication network. Krex assault fleets found themselves surrounded by invisible enemies who demanded surrender rather than destruction. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session as reports flooded in of mysterious human ships appearing throughout civilized space. High Arbiter Zenthal, now ancient and frail, struggled to comprehend what was happening. Ambassador Yilseth of the Thurani spoke first, her voice filled with amazement. "The humans have been operating in our space for years without our knowledge. Our intelligence services detected no trace of their activities. The question is not how they remained hidden," said Representative Kethlar of the Queth. "The question is why they are revealing themselves now, and whether they represent a threat to galactic stability." Their questions were answered when Admiral Kim herself appeared on the Council's main communication screen. Her image was broadcast simultaneously to every major world in the galaxy, ensuring that her message would reach the widest possible audience. "Members of the Galactic Council, I am Admiral Sarah Kim of the Human Defense Forces. 21 years ago, this council banished humanity based on fabricated evidence provided by the Krex Empire. We have used those years of exile to build something better than what we lost." Kim paused to let her words sink in before continuing. "Today, human forces have prevented a campaign of genocide that would have enslaved 34 innocent species. We have also gathered evidence proving that the Krex Empire was responsible for the attack on the Zilani homeworld that led to our banishment." The massive display screens in the council chamber filled with recordings, communication intercepts, and detailed technical analysis, proving beyond doubt that the Krex had framed humanity for the Zilani genocide. The evidence was overwhelming and impossible to dispute. "Furthermore," Kim continued, "we are prepared to share defensive technology with any species threatened by aggressive expansion. The age of the strong preying upon the weak is ending. Humanity has returned not as conquerors, but as protectors." Throughout the galaxy, human ships that had remained invisible for decades suddenly became visible around threatened worlds. The show of force was carefully calculated to demonstrate capability without appearing aggressive. Each ship broadcast the same message of protection and cooperation. General Thex Nar watched his command structure collapse as evidence of Krek's war crimes spread across the galactic networks. Within hours, several Krek's colonies were declaring independence, supported by mysterious human advisors who seemed to have been working underground for years. "The Empire is finished," he told his aide quietly. But how did they become so powerful? How did they build all of this without anyone noticing? The answer would become clear in the coming days, as the full scope of humanity's hidden civilization was revealed. 21 years of exile had not weakened them. It had transformed them into something the galaxy had never seen before. A civilization dedicated to protecting the innocent, rather than expanding its own power. The space above Nexus Prime filled with ships as the most extraordinary fleet in galactic history decloaked around the Council's home system. Hundreds of vessels that had remained invisible for over 2 decades suddenly appeared. Their sleek designs unlike anything in the official databases. The Shadow Fleet had come out of hiding, at last. High Arbiter Zenthal stood at the great observation window of the Council chamber, watching human warships take defensive positions around the planet. Their movements were perfectly coordinated, displaying a level of tactical sophistication that made the Council's own security forces look primitive by comparison. "They could have destroyed our entire defense grid before we even knew they were here," Zenthal said quietly to his aide. "The fact that they chose protection over conquest tells us everything we need to know about how they have changed." Admiral Sarah Kim materialized in the Council chamber through advanced holographic technology. Her image as clear and detailed as if she were physically present. Behind her, the bridge of her flagship, New Haven, bustled with activity as beings from dozens of species worked together in perfect harmony. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Kim began, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "I stand before you, not as a representative of banished humanity, but as the voice of a new alliance, dedicated to justice and protection for all innocent beings." Ambassador So-Young Park, daughter of the diplomat who had witnessed humanity's original banishment, stepped forward from the observer section. Unlike her father's desperate pleas 21 years earlier, her presence radiated calm confidence. She carried with her a data core containing irrefutable proof of Krek's war crimes spanning decades. "The evidence we present today proves conclusively that the Krek's Empire orchestrated the attack on the Zelani homeworld," So-Young said, activating the massive display screens. "They used stolen human technology to create false sensor readings and weapon signatures. The genocide that led to our banishment was their work, not ours." Chancellor Vex Tar of the Krek's Empire rose from his seat, his massive form trembling with rage and fear. The revelations of the past week had shattered his carefully constructed conspiracy, and several Krek's colonies had already declared independence from his rule. "Even if this is true," Vex Tar growled, "it does not excuse humanity's illegal military buildup. You have violated the quarantine order and built weapons of incredible destruction. You pose a threat to galactic security." Captain Chen Wei, now a senior admiral in the human fleet, appeared on the communications screen from his position above the liberated Zorvac homeworld. Behind him, former slave miners worked alongside human engineers to rebuild their shattered civilization. Chancellor Vex Tar, "The only threat we pose is to those who prey upon the innocent," Chen said firmly. "Every world under our protection has chosen to accept our aid freely. We have conquered no one and enslaved no one. Can you say the same?" The truth of Chen's words was evident in the testimony of dozens of species representatives who had traveled to Nexus Prime to witness the proceedings. Miraleth Crystal Shapers spoke of humanity's role in saving their dying world from Krek's poisoning. Zorvac mining clans described their liberation from generations of slavery. Smaller species that most council members had never heard of told stories of human protection against raiders and exploitation. Representative Kethlar of the Queth, whose species prided itself on logical analysis, stood to address the chamber. "The evidence is clear and overwhelming. Humanity has used their exile to build not an empire of conquest, but a network of mutual protection and cooperation. Their actions speak louder than our fears. Ambassador Yilseth of the Thorani, whose beautiful voice had once voted for humanity's banishment, now sang a different song. 21 years ago, we made a terrible mistake based on fabricated evidence. We have the opportunity to correct that error and welcome humanity back to galactic society. Kim raised her hand to request permission to speak. When the chamber fell silent, she addressed the fundamental question that had brought them all together. Members of the Council, we do not seek readmission to your organization as it currently exists. Instead, we propose the creation of something better. The holographic displays showed a new structure called the Galactic Compact of Free Species. Unlike the old Council, with its emphasis on territorial control and economic dominance, the compact would be based on principles of mutual aid, protection for the weak, and cooperative development of technology for peaceful purposes. The old system has failed, Kim explained. It allowed corruption, like the Krex conspiracy, to flourish, while innocent species suffered in silence. The compact we propose will have built-in safeguards against such abuses, with humanity serving as neutral arbitrators when conflicts arise. Dr. Sarah Chen appeared from her research station with a presentation showing the technological advances that humanity had achieved during their exile. Medical breakthroughs that could extend lifespans across multiple species. Agricultural techniques that could end hunger on dozens of worlds. Energy systems that could provide clean power without environmental destruction. We offer these discoveries freely to all species that join the compact, Chen said. Our goal is not profit or control, but the elevation of all sentient life to heights we can only imagine. The debate that followed lasted for 3 days. Some council members argued for maintaining the traditional power structure. Others worried about humanity's hidden military capabilities. But the voice of the smaller species, who had never felt truly represented in the old council, began to tip the balance. General Thexnar appeared before the assembly under guard, having been captured during the collapse of the Krex military command. His testimony confirmed every detail of the conspiracy that had framed humanity and revealed the scope of Krex plans for galactic conquest. The humans could have destroyed us completely, Thexnar admitted with grudging respect. Their technology is decades beyond anything we possessed. But they chose mercy over revenge, even toward those who had wronged them. That choice tells us what kind of civilization they have become. The final vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. The Galactic Compact of Free Species was established with humanity as its founding protector race. The old council structure was dissolved, replaced by a system that gave every species an equal voice regardless of their military or economic power. Admiral Kim stood once again before the assembled representatives, but this time her image was accompanied by those of her senior staff. Humans, Miraleth, Zorvok, Queth, and dozens of other species appeared together as symbols of the new cooperation that would guide the galaxy's future. The age of the strong preying upon the weak is ending, Kim declared. From this day forward, no species will face extinction or slavery, while the compact exists to protect them. We who were banished from the stars have returned not as conquerors, but as guardians of a better future. Captain Minjun Park Jr. watched the ceremony from his ship's bridge, thinking of his father who had died 5 years earlier without seeing this moment of redemption. The old ambassador had never lost faith that justice would eventually prevail, even during the darkest days of humanity's exile. Admiral, incoming transmission from the Outer Rim territories, reported his communications officer. The Kelvin Trade Federation is requesting membership in the compact. They say they want protection from hegemony raiders. Kim smiled as she received similar reports from across the galaxy. The compact was growing even as they watched, as word spread of humanity's offer of protection without conquest. Species that had lived in fear for generations were finally finding hope. Open a channel to all compact territories, Kim ordered. This is Admiral Kim to all free beings in the galaxy. The shadow has ended, and the light has begun. Welcome to a new age among the stars. The transformation was not complete, and many challenges lay ahead. But humanity had proven that exile and suffering could be turned into strength and purpose. They had been banished from the stars as criminals, but they had returned as the galaxy's greatest hope for justice and peace. In the hidden bases scattered across the galaxy's edge, human children who had been born during the exile looked up at stars they could now claim as their own. The network their parents had built in secrecy would now serve as the foundation for a civilization dedicated to protecting all innocent life. The Age of Shadows was ending, and the Age of Guardians had begun.